Sorry?
I said, oh, Twitter.
Yeah, I know.
You mean X?
X, exactly. I'm
Am
still
I coming
old
out of your
school.
headphones? Because I can hear an echo.
Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah, you are as well. What a dumbass. That's a good.
It's a good job one of us is paying attention.
I can hear you now. I can hear you clearly now. That's good. Right.
Oh, hang on.
Now I can hear an echo. I'm
Yeah,
waiting
no,
for it to go live.
I had the YouTube on.
Oh, okay. Oh, is it feeding through on YouTube for you? Is
Yeah,
it going
it's on
through
YouTube.
Okay, cool. Because mine isn't loading. Oh, there we go. Right, cool. We're good on YouTube. Perfect. Let me just double check on Twitter. No one's on the YouTube just yet, but
might take this opportunity to update cursor.
Do it live.
Yeah.
On stream.
Restart to update.
There we go. Cursor One. We're actually reporting on Cursor One today, so there you go.
That's why I'm updating it.
There you go. You've not had the privilege of using it yet. I haven't, to be fair. Yes, I have, but not any of the new features.
I'm sure it's probably just the same as the previous one.
Yeah. I think they I don't know. There's a word for it where they just thought, oh, just make it one. Just make it of I don't know. Maybe they've been
a whole version number.
Living in denial. Yeah. Cool. I am cool. Okay, we're on. Things are good on. Just double check the audio on Twitter. How's your day been anyway?
All right. Busy.
Amazing. Yeah. You managed to carve out some time with us today. That's good.
Yeah, wouldn't miss it.
Wouldn't miss it for the world. Cool. Well, normally me and Kabaza are like actually. Oh gosh, my internet is going shit for Twitter, for YouTube. Normally, Kabaza and I are just faffing around at this point, and then we eventually go live at 6:15. So you're actually on time, prompt, and
makes a change. That's not really my style.
Yeah, that's true. Right, I need to get this out because we've just had 5 people join. If you're joining, let us know where you're from, because I want to know where people are in the world and where they care to listen to our dulcet tones. Whilst you do that, I'm going to post on LinkedIn.
What platform have they joined on?
What platform? Twitter. I know. YouTube. That might have been. Where did you put a shout out to?
Just some people I know. Teams.
Oh, okay. Fine. Oh, okay. Internal. Okay, fine. Right. Okay. Right. I've got to think of my big announcement for your return. It's always a haphazard experience. Have you watched any of the episodes yet? Do you know what it's about? Do you know what we talk about? Do you know what AI is?
I've heard of AI. Yeah. I'm looking forward to learning more about it. That's what this is about, isn't it?
Not sure I could teach you to suck eggs, but we can give it a go.
All right.
Have you checked have you got the notes up in front of you as well?
I do.
Good.
I do.
Cool. Okay.
I think I'm quite prepared.
Oh wow. To be honest,
seemingly more than
you. Yeah. To be honest, we started going live just kind of haphazardly. A bit of peek behind the curtains here. We're going live kind of quite haphazardly, which is fun. It's all good fun. But then last week I was like, right, I'm actually gonna really prepare and look into all of the stuff we've got this week. Well, this was last week, and it helps so much. It just helps so much with the kind of smoothness and just the smoothness of the show. So yeah, right. Let me get the things, and I think we're probably good to go. Actually, do you know what? We're going to start with my thing. We're going to start slightly early, and we're going to start with my thing that I'm launching today. And it's pretty ridiculous. Where the heck is it?
Oh, I've seen this already.
Have you?
I think, yeah.
Where have you seen it?
If it's what I think, if it's what I think it is, it's in your notes, and I was looking at it in the bath.
Oh, that's true. That's true. You've got access to the notes. I've got about 1 million windows up, so now I need to find where we all are. What's in this one? That's that one. That's that one. And that's can go away. And this can, oh, I was better leave that one up. Do you know what? I had a window open full of all of our here we go. All of our things that we're going to go through, and then I lost it. But now I've got it again. Cool. I'm going to share my screen. So here's something. Actually, no. We'll do this first. So if you are here early, this is something very special I've done. So to explain, I fucking hate AI to anyone that doesn't know. I'm so determined to find. I don't know whether you find this, Chris. We'll do proper introductions in a minute. I don't know if you find this, Chris, but there are people out there who just the moment they hear the letters AI, they just shut off. They're like, fuck AI, or I hate it. And again, peek behind the curtains. Some of my content on YouTube is crashing and burn. These mostly the shorts, to be fair. The long form content's doing all right, but like the shorts, I'm getting more dislikes than I am likes. And that could be for a number of things. I'm not going to claim that I'm producing the best content in the world. It's like, why aren't people watching me? But I do think there are a large portion of people that really just hate AI. Either they're sick. Well, I mean, I can only make assumptions. So either sick to death of hearing it, or they just do not see a future in it. I know a lot of people are scared about or worried about security. So I set up this web. Well, actually, I'll let you answer the question. Do you know anyone, or have you experienced any of this behavior? Oh. Speaking of cat.
Speaking of, yes, yeah, he's a new one. He's cat number 6.
Special guest.
Cat number 6. Yeah, I don't know, actually. I think there's still a lot of people who don't know what it is, actually. I don't think I've come across anyone who's got necessarily a really negative experience. Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't even care to say it's a negative experience per se. And that's kind of, again, an assumption I'm making. I feel like some people haven't even really tried it, because I know I've got a friend who's in a band, and he wants to hire an agent to work with them, because they're kind of getting, they're growing and they're doing well. And I was like, what are you going to do with all your money? And he was like, we're thinking of getting an agent. And then I was like, have you tried looking to AI, see how AI can help? Because like you can literally, I mean, you can get it to do anything. And people put AI in this big old blanket of like, they encapsulate AI into like one bucket. But actually AI, it's the first time we've experienced a technology. Well, maybe not the first time, but it's like we're experiencing the technology take the forefront of the actual value. Apple have been always good at just hiding whatever the technology is. We don't need to tell you how much RAM there is in your phone. We don't need to tell you there's AI that's going through all your photos and organizing them for you. But now they've had to say, pushing AI. But anyway, point is, I feel like people are just so focused on AI, whereas actually it's got so many different applications and whatever. So I find it hard to believe a lot of these people actually have experienced AI in order to comment on it. That all being said, I hope I'm going to make a tweet that's going to really provoke people to go to ireallyfuckinghateai.com. And all it is I'm not collecting anyone's data. I'm double checking they're not a human. This is just for research purposes. And I just want you to vent. Why do you hate AI so much? Because I want to understand you. I want to understand why people are so against AI, because I just can't fathom it. I see it as a net positive, and low key feel quite sad for those people who don't yet understand it, or who are against it, because I think their future is not looking particularly bright in terms of how, and we'll get into it probably, how CEOs are looking at their workforce and trying to encourage and making it mandatory to use AI in their work, because they don't just want a 3x employee, they want a 5 and 10x employee. So I really fucking hate AI.com is up. You can go and submit your feelings. You can tell me anything. You could probably tell me about your day if you want. It's up to you. But point is, I'm not collecting any data. I'm just literally just collecting what you say. Don't care who you are, and I want to hear all about it. So that is it.
So my question is, did you build that with AI?
Look, we're not gonna let them know that I totally built this with AI. Okay, it took me 10 minutes in the morning this morning. Well, maybe a little bit more time. I had to write some code for this, but yeah, like I woke up at 7:30 this morning, went out for a run. Literally before I went out for a run, went on Replit, one of my favorite vibe code tools. Went out for a run, came back, and it was done. And I had to do a little design tweaks and things like that on it. But yeah, I did use AI to write this. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna create a really like annoying, provocative tweet to hopefully get some people to submit, and just I'm sort of having loose conversations with people on TikTok, but yeah, we shall see. That all being said, you might have noticed that the man before me is not Iranian. It's not Kabaza. And no, I don't think either of you have a beard. This is Chris. Say hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris. Oh, classic. Classic. So I've invited Chris on the show. If those of you that don't know or brand new to it or whatever, so Chris and I used to have a podcast like years ago. And would you believe, I think we were running for about 2 years,
We did, I think, 74 episodes, and we did, excluding the news ones, because we did do some news shows.
And we did do news ones. And yeah, thanks for reminding me. We did do news ones. Every Sunday, we would kind of just do tech news, wasn't it? It was broad tech news and whatever. And so we're very familiar with this. What microphone are you using right now?
I think I'm using my old Blue Yeti. Does it sound all right?
Yeah, sounds all right. It sounds maybe a little bit echoey, but like...
Well, I mean... Yeah, it is a little echoey in here because the cat that did just walk across my screen a minute ago is a stray. So we have plastic down everywhere and no soft furnishings because he's a stray. So it's like a kill room in here at the moment.
Nah, it's for you, isn't it? Because you're always falling over. So that's what it is.
Yeah, wetting myself. That's the problem. Yes, no, it's for him. That's the issue. So it is a little echoey in here than normal.
It's all good. But yeah, so we had a podcast for a few years talking about general tech and doing news and stuff like that. So you have the technology, you have the equipment, you have the, the confidence to just appear on a podcast last minute. And I wanted to get people on the show every so often just to kind of share in the news and chat about AI. And funny enough, I think you were the person that probably was the first time I heard the words GPT. And I can't remember what episode it was, but I think we were talking about something. Maybe it was the AI girlfriend that I had, and I think it was used to use GPT-2. I think. Anyway,
GPT-3. I think the start was. I think.
Yeah, but I just have this thing in my head about GPT-4, 2. Sorry, 2. But anyway, so very familiar with tech, and you've done software engineering and all the rest of it. So just felt quite natural to bring you on the show and chat about the news. I wanted to say something as well. I've just totally forgotten. But anyway,
I remember diving into the into the AI as soon as it was open, and as soon as ChatGPT was a thing, and you had to sign up for a beta. I was on that beta list. I think we talked about being on the beta list and applying for it. Yeah, so I think we're both being early adopters of the AI thing, the AI world.
And I remember what I was going to say. We, more specifically, you had, what was his second name? Blake
Lemoine
from Google, who actually lost his marbles and announced that Google Gemini was, well, this is before it was called Gemini, wasn't it? Google was sentient.
Well, as far as I'm aware, what he was claiming was sentient. This was way before ChatGPT came out. Yeah. So what he was claiming was a sentient AI. I think he said since is nothing. What we've got now is nothing like what he actually experienced internally.
Interesting.
So I think there's still supposedly some other stuff that sits behind the behind the screens. I suppose is probably better than behind the scenes. There's something that's behind the scenes that isn't quite out yet. But then again, I think the thing that's quite interesting about it is you can have a conversation with it and think that it's real. You know, certainly for lay people, it'd be very easy to have a conversation and be convinced and coerced and whatever it is, or, you know, blackmailed, as we've seen in the news this week, by an AI. You could be quite easily convinced, I think.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm so in tech, and I'm, you know, I've had conversations, and, you know, a lot of people use ChatGPT as a therapist even, and I've been like, I can totally see why people think this is sentient. It's so convincing in that respect. So, and so all that to say that the podcast did fairly well, and we had a good 2-year run.
We did.
And that was one of the episodes that blew up. I don't know how you managed to get him on the show, but we were one of the first people to actually interview him, and it helped.
He interviewed on that tech show at the same time as he was interviewing with like Bloomberg and NBC. Yeah, so I think we did get quite a good scoop there.
yeah, for sure. Anyway, let's dive into the news and see where we go, because for those who just joined, Kabaza has had to shoot off for family stuff. So if he's watching in the arm of his chair somewhere, then hello, Kabaza. Say hello in the chat if you are around. But this is Chris, joined us on the show this week, and we're just going to get into mostly we try and talk about web stuff, like mostly around design, digital, and web, but we'll dip into other things. And the first kind of interesting thing that happened this week, and unfortunately we haven't got much to talk about, is actually the more specifically, can I do this? There we go. The Dia browser, which is an AI-based or AI-focused browser. And the owner, Josh, or CEO, went on to the Waveform podcast and spoke about it and kind of give us a lowdown on what it's going on. And this is something I've really tried to wrap my head around. That overall, like, I found out. Do you know what browser do you use, Chris? Do you use Arc? How are you, Devin? These days?
I'm old school. I'm using Chrome.
Oh goodness me! Oh goodness! I mean,
but Chromium, to be fair, I do a lot of development, right? And most of the things that you're trying to support are still Chrome and Firefox and Edge.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I use Firefox, but I don't know what your clients are using. But yeah, I guess. I mean, Arc. Have you tried Arc?
I haven't, I'm afraid.
Okay, so Arc, I mean, you can kind of see it right in front of you. You see how this window is kind of full screen right now, and actually, if I just do this, you'll see it pop open on the side. Like, I think it gives it's more of a full screen experience for exploring the web, and because you've got this sidebar which I can pop open permanently there, I think it's more suitable to websites to be like this rather than having a kind of tab bar at the top that's pushing everything down and shrinking everything. So I think this was like an attractive feature to people who are always on the web. And Arc was the browser that kind of introduced this, and it's Chromium based. And it got really, really big through this interview on the Waveform podcast. Oh God, there's audio, right? Josh was on the podcast here talking about, because they basically abandoned Arc after maybe, I don't know, three years. And this is the CEO, and he's building an AI first browser called Dia. And I kind of like the idea, because basically it encapsulates everything all over, like everything that you do, rather than being like a window or what, as he says here, an app or a button. It's an entirely new environment. And given that you're still on Chrome, I wondered if you could wrap your head around this idea that AI is more of an encompassing thing than just a chatbot or like a I don't know, as he says, like a button or whatever.
Well, it depends how are you using AI when it's within the browser like this?
So, well, this is actually we can't download it because they're really secretive like this. So I haven't actually got access to it yet. But like, we'll go into Opera actually. But maybe there's something in here that it's supposed to. It's kind of his grand vision's kind of context, like personal context of everything. and it's supposed to understand the web pages that you're on. It's supposed to, understand and start learning the way you write, because you live in the browser. You're filling out forms, you're writing emails. It's learning as it goes. It's like your own personal, like, Google algorithm, which on the one hand is quite nerve-wracking, to be honest, but on the other hand, it's if they can reassure the privacy fiends out there, then it could be a really interesting experience. But I'm struggling to think about. I mean, you can see this little window here. Auto browsing.
I've got some auto browsing. That's weird, isn't it? What's it just going to show you random websites? Here's a new website I found.
Yeah.
I think it's a little strange, isn't it? Like, I'd be interested to see what it does and how it behaves, because having had some experience of using some of the built-in tools like Gemini, for example, into all of the Google stuff, I don't make any use of it, because the output that you get from trying to get it to support you in writing a document, I don't find it useful at all. I'd actually rather write it myself. But I do use AI on a daily basis within Cursor. And the other advantage of it being within Cursor is that because I pay for the Pro, my code is supposedly not shared anywhere. And I would worry in the same way that, stuff that I was doing on the internet was shared elsewhere. And I don't mean that in necessarily a nefarious way. I mean, like, if you're doing something that's creative, or, whether that's writing a story, if you're a writer, or writing a document, that if you're a business person, I don't want that shared anywhere else. I don't want that to be fed into training somebody else's ideas, because I think we're still at a stage, and I think we will be for a long time, where AI is still regurgitating stuff. It's not inherently creative. So I would be very interested to see how it works and if it changes how you browse. But I don't think I would necessarily see any immediate benefit that I would gain.
Yeah, I'm struggling with it. But in the same vein, Opera also announced their AI browser that they're going with right now, Opera Neon. And again, this is supposed to understand everything and help you with tasks. This has got it's like a 3-step program, right? You've got chat, which is your classic chat if you want it to help you out with certain things, answers and stuff like that. This is really weird, actually. This is kind of strange. Which, I think we're all very familiar with chatbots. You've got Do, which is actually like building things. No, so sorry, I'm getting confused. This one's an agent. And are you familiar with agents? Have you been digging into the world of AI agents, Chris?
Yeah, I've built a few.
Built a few AI agents. Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah.
As in, you've used platforms to build them, right?
Well, if the platform you're talking to build them is like DigitalOcean, where we're actually doing RAG and augmentation and things like that, that's actually what we've been doing. We did a project relatively recently which was supported by Innovate UK. So it was my company, Anything, and In Good Company. We did a partnered piece of work on there, which actually was about training agents on company data to give sort of more context-aware stuff. So working through different workflows. So we have done quite a few agents. There's definitely going to be there's definitely use in agents for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, you're like literally as close to the system as you can if you're deploying your own agents. I thought you might have been using like N8N, I think it's called, or something like that. Or
we have used N8N. We have used N8N for creating workflows, but not actually to actually not actually integrating with the agents at that stage. Literally just using it to go and gather data from various sources and drop it into storage that basically forms a knowledge base for an agent, which is then trained elsewhere, trained outside of N8N. So we haven't used N8N in that scenario in that way, but we have used it as part of certain flows just to have a workflow engine that can run repeatedly on a certain schedule.
And what models are you using for your agent?
Well, we've tried a few, and I think it's interesting that the ones that are more sort of readily available are the likes of Llama, and It's generally not great. It's all right.
It's fine for quick
But
things, I find. Well, actually, the smaller models are, but yeah.
yeah, but now that we're getting to the point of putting some of that stuff into production, we are experimenting with slightly more advanced stuff that feels a little bit more natural. But what's quite nice is because we've got the workflows that generate the knowledge bases, actually swapping out the agent, still providing it the same context, but swapping out the agent for a different model is relatively simple. And it's just really trying to figure out the costs for that. So, I think we're finding that certain models are better at doing certain things. I mean, I quite like Sonnet for coding. I think some of the ChatGPT ones are better for language. So yeah, I think really it's just about finding which is the right model for the right scenario. But Llama's definitely good to sort of test things out, but I don't really feel like it's the sort of thing you'd want in production because it tends to hallucinate quite a lot. It's still got that, that old school hallucination where you ask it to retrieve something from its data source and it goes, here's something I've just made up. And you go, I've asked you not to do that.
Explicitly asked you not to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you using OpenRouter for that, or are you just sticking to models that adopt the OpenAI standard?
Mostly, I think they're just following the OpenAI standard.
Yeah. I think it's only really Google. Well, yeah, only really Google doesn't. But I'm building an AI app, and I'm thinking of just moving it over to OpenRouter, just because it can just swap out models using the same sort of standard and whatever. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked. So yeah, this is more of an agent thing, and this is and we'll get into Perplexity Labs, which has been launched last week. This is more of an agent that will go off and do several things at once. And I had a video. I think a video's just gone out today, actually. So yesterday, I don't know, whatever. And then Make. This is a really weird addition to a browser. This is a vibe coding app where you just tell it to go build you a website or a game or something like this. And remember, this is all inside of a browser. So I don't really understand. This feels like a bit of a personality. What's the word I'm looking for? Just doesn't know where it fits in the world. It's kind of like throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. But it is interesting.
Well, I mean, are people still using Opera? I mean,
they are trying their damnedest, but I don't know. Well, I don't even know what are they Chromium based? Are they I don't even know what they use.
I don't know. I think a lot of browsers moved towards Chromium a few years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, wow, there we go. There's I don't know. So look, I've got to log in. I was going to use my little chat app to find out if Opera is Chromium based. So anyway, this is the kind of browser wars that are kind of going on. They're doing interesting things, and I want one of them to release something, because I'm struggling to get my head around the concept of having a AI wrapping my browser world.
I think it's still a little bit like when all of the IoT stuff kicked off, which really still hasn't settled. I spent IoT is something I spend quite a bit of time doing, as you know, from the ridiculous automation in my house. But it's a solution looking for a problem, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it still feels a little bit like that with AI. Everything just gets an AI sticker slapped on it in the same way as, 10 years ago, everything had a big data sticker slapped on it, which obviously is actually the precursor to AI, if you think about it, I suppose, or if you follow that thread. So yeah, I think it's just one of those things. At the moment, it's got to have AI in it. In fact, actually, a great way of looking at this from an indication perspective is in terms of the funding that is available at the moment to startups, and trying to get funding from Innovate UK, for example, or UKRI. You have to have it. It has to have AI in it. Otherwise, you're not going to get your project is not going to get funded. And the same it goes for investors, for venture capital investment. If you do not have AI as part of your project, you're not getting funded. So it's one of those things at the moment. It is the buzzword, and if you're going without that, then you're going to struggle, I think.
Yeah, it just goes back to what we were saying in the preamble before the show. It's like Apple always hid the fact that they're using AI, and then they started losing investor and shareholder trust. So they have to start revealing, oh, we're actually using AI for this, and we're actually using AI for that. And it's so strange for people to really care about the underlying technology. Do you know what I mean? So
I think there's always been a bit of that. If you go back to some, even if you go back as far as the 90s when things were starting to go online, you had E stuff or I stuff. There's always been a little bit of that.
Yeah. I mean, technology is so pervasive it's all around us. So I think whether people are technophobes or not, it's just they're being bombarded with technology just because it's so important. So yeah, but anyway, you've just updated. Cursor have finally become a big boy. You've become a big boy now. Cursor
up to version 1, absolutely.
Yeah. So there was a few things. I made a little TikTok on it yesterday. It was quite fun. There's Bugbot, which basically, as you can see it just here. I'm not quite sure how it works exactly, but you can tag Cursor inside of GitHub, as it's doing. You can see right now on the old screen share. You can tag and click on, okay, so you click on fixing Cursor, and then it just opens up and whatever, because I guess VS Code has a GitHub integration, right? You can do pull requests and things like that. So I'm assuming that's the sort of technology it's utilizing, but I guess it can just pick up the bug that's in a pull request, and then you can fix it.
Well, that's interesting, because there was actually, what was the tool? I'm just having a look through my Git to see if I can find it. But there was a tool, an AI pull request tool that I saw at London Tech Week last year, actually. What's it called? Sorcery AI. There you go.
Ooh, okay.
So that does your pull request reviews for you.
Okay.
And it's relatively good, actually. But I guess it's Cursor's move to try and copy that, I guess, to a certain degree.
There's a few. I mean, like, obviously, you can tag Claude Code. Does this look familiar?
I think probably. Yeah. Yes, it is. No, that little box is the same, like the logo. Yeah.
That classic box. Okay, yeah, because like Cursor Code can do this. You can tag Cursor in your pull request and it will fix it. Obviously, Jules as well is kind of like a thing, but there's a few kind of doing this where you just tag them in a pull request, or you tag them in an issue. They'll go off and fix it and create a pull. I guess you could tag them in an issue and then they go off and fix it in a pull request. So yeah, there's a few of these, and I love that idea of just being on the bus and being like, oh crap, there's something, I noticed an issue, report the issue, get the AI to start with it, and then you pull it down in Cursor later on and fix the damn thing. So I quite like that this idea. I've not had much experience using them yet,
well,
but it's still
I tell you when it's useful to use something like Sorcery. So if you've got a relatively large team and you're doing the pull request, pull requests are great if you are tools like Sonar. I've always used tools like Sonar because at least then, if you've got junior members of your team, then they can sort of fight with Sonar or fight with the static analysis, or in this case, fight with Sorcery until you've concocted a PR that is actually ready for review and has, worked out all of the security bugs or worked out any of the other bugs that it's able to identify, and gets to a certain bar before you then have a human or a senior code reviewer actually reviewing something and saying, yeah, that's ready to go. So I think it's great in that respect. And this is actually, I think, what AI is going to be really good at. It's going to be good at going through its knowledge base of what good code should look like and determining whether there is any issues, more of an advanced static analysis tool. And I must admit, I use Cursor regularly to review my PRs and say, right, is this ready to go? Do you notice anything in this? Have you spotted any duplication that I might have left behind? Especially if you're doing quite a large release, it's particularly useful for that.
Also very unnerving because when you're trusted, you've got to really trust it in AI when you're close to a release and you're saying there's already issues with it. But
well,
yeah.
more if you're doing a small increment, a small feature, you're just
Yeah.
checking with small features. You're not checking for. I'm not suggesting that you code for 6 months and then ask the AI if that looks good.
Yeah. Strong. Are you because anything like how are you using AI to build that? Presumably, it was built without AI. But are you kind of encouraging the guys to now use AI to add things and change things?
Absolutely, yeah. But I think we're a small team now, and we don't do a huge amount in AI. Actually, sometimes we will prototype in it, but because of the level of what we're trying to achieve, we often don't use that much AI because we're trying to make sure that stuff is particularly robust. So we're dealing with other people's data, I suppose, because in one respect you could use us over Supabase. So you want to make sure that you've got some really strong security constraints in there, I suppose, to make sure that everything is going to work exactly as you expect. But it's not to say that we don't use it, because we do use it as we go. And like I said, largely for prototyping. And also, there will be an actual AI tool in there further down the line, because we've been experimenting with it already, that where you will actually be able to build and design your data models by asking it to do that for you. And it will do it for you. It's just that will be in a future version.
I was going to say, is it live yet?
So we're using it. Well, we're using it with a number of customers, but we're getting to the point next sort of month or so where we're going to be able to actually release that as a public platform for other people to just start their own instances.
I have a banner ready to go that says anything.com. Should I put the banner up or not?
It's anything.uk, so I would change the banner.
So you... Where is it? Go on. There we go. Show. There it is. Anything.uk. Is that it?
That is right, yeah. So you can go and have a look at anything.uk. We've got some cool stuff in there, and there's going to be a lot more to come. So next couple of weeks, I can come back if you'll let me, and I can tell you about it then when it's ready for people to just go and start their instances.
Yeah, let's do it. Right. Anyway, so you mentioned something when it comes to Cursor that I think you might find really helpful. I mean, Claude Code introduced me to this idea of memories. We'll go back up. Don't worry, folks. We'll go back up. It's just because we mentioned this. So are you aware of memory? Are you aware of Claude Code, Claude.md files or anything like this?
So I have used .md files, and I have used the Cursor rules as well, which is quite useful.
Yeah.
It does tend to ignore it on occasion, which is a pain. But I think that if it can start to do memories, that's going to be quite useful.
Yes.
I think I've not had a chance to try it in Cursor as yet. I think
well, you just updated just before this call, so I don't doubt you have.
Yeah, but we'll have a look this afternoon for sure.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, after this call. But I think if it can start to remember stuff, that's going to be helpful.
So what I like, there's a few reasons why I like this. I mean, you can go as broad or as narrow as you want. You can set up a memory. I'm speaking from Claude Code perspective here, but this is basically the same thing. You can do it per folder. So you can say, this is the roots folder, and this is where all the pages live, and all that kind of stuff. And you can slowly work out to a project. You can put your let's say Claude file in your machine's kind of root. So it's how you like to write code, or you can put it in your organization. It sort of broadens out. And what I've noticed, because I'm using Claude Code at the moment, is that it tends to try and update that memory file or that Claude file. Say it's in a folder, it starts to update it and modify it. So it maintains itself. So I'm hoping that this is a similar sort of thing, and that if you have got it in a folder or you have got it somewhere, that it's constantly updating this memory to changes that you're making. Maybe a file doesn't do the same thing as what it once did, or a folder didn't serve the same purpose, or whatever it is. So I'm really excited about memories. I've alluded to it in a video that I released last week. I think this is one of the biggest. This is before Cursor released it, to be honest. But memories and task management are two big things I think that are going to help us start to step back from hand coding things and have more trust in AI coding things. I think those two things are going to be huge. We're going to be writing, what do they call it, project requirement documents, as opposed to, make this function do that. But that's just
See, I wouldn't necessarily suggest that it's going to allow you to be more hands off, but perhaps it's going to allow you to be more consistent, because I still think that you can't let it just get away with everything, because quite frequently it will change the architecture, especially if you are doing something other than, say, more standard things like I'm coding in Next and Tailwind. Like if you start going, well, actually, I'm going to use Radix, and I'm going to use even just Vite. I'm going to do something slightly different. Then occasionally it's going to try and sneak in a bit of Tailwind there, because actually there's more Tailwind on the internet than there is on there is Radix. So you're always going to have that sort of slight battle with it, I think. So if that starts to solve that problem, then I don't think it's going to let you be hands off, but it's going to at least allow it to be more consistent. And I think that's going to be useful.
Yeah. I hear a bit of doubt in your voice, Chris. I don't think you're fully AI pilled just yet. You want to be hands off?
No, I'm not.
I want to be totally hands off.
No, well, do you know what? I was listening to Radio 4 the other day, and there was a person on it, and she said, I do every day. And there was a person on it, and she said, look, I don't want the AI to be doing the painting and doing the writing so that I can do my dishes and my laundry. I want the AI to be doing my dishes and my laundry so I can do painting and writing. And I think it's kind of the same in this sort of thing. I don't want it to do the creative stuff. And it's actually not very good at that, in my opinion. I want it to do the boilerplate and make things really simple and easy for me. But I also, and like I said, I use it every day, but I just don't think you can let it just go on its own. And I think especially as code bases get larger and more complex, bugs start to creep in. And the real concern as well, which is why I use it to sort of check a pull request, is that it doesn't seem to be very good at self-reviewing. And, so it can't code and then review itself as well as it really should do. And that's where security loopholes can creep in. And I think we're potentially on the verge of, if everybody carries on with vibe coding, people are going to start getting sued because bank details have been leaked. It feels like it's that sort of direction.
Yeah, I think my hands-off approach is very much like, look, you have a good first start, but there's nothing I vibe code or, when I am hands-off, my definition of hands-off, I still need to look at that code. I still need to know and understand it and make sure it's doing the thing that I half expected it to do. I also want to learn. It's a great way to learn, but I don't know. Well, I think it's really interesting where we're going with software development with AI. I'm of belief that seniors and mid levels are going to be more reviewing and orchestrating code rather than actually writing it. They're going to be the ones checking that everything's good and again just being more pedantic with what goes in and just not blindly throwing code in. That's junior level development. But anyway, we've also got background agents, which is pretty cool. I love this idea of you write something. Well, actually, it's something I've not had a tremendous amount of experience in, but you can remote coding agent. So you can set off agents to run and do things as you write code, which is pretty handy. Have you had much experience with background agents at all? Because I think that
I haven't. I was trying to work out exactly what it did.
Well, I'm guessing it's kind of like a tool call that runs. With a because you can prompt it, then you can actually suggest that it does something to run in the background. So it could be just go and do this thing whilst I code this other thing.
Well, I did see there was some stuff in there about parallelization, and I do think that's going to be useful, because that's one of the things that's probably most annoying about doing coding with AI at the moment is you you waste time waiting for it to finish something.
Yeah, exactly. I think that this is I think this could be more so like they showed a demonstration or an integration with Slack you know. So I don't know. It's an improvement. We'll just trust them with their word. Jupyter notebooks. I mean, I don't write Python, but I think the thing is, I saw that VS Code released like a tweet or something like that, and like talking about their Jupyter notebook integration. So I think they're like, don't forget us. Don't forget us. We've always done Jupyter Notebook, and it was like a day after the Cursor announced their Jupyter Notebook integration.
See, that's always that's going to be an interesting thing, that, isn't it? Because Cursor is VS Code, so you know, everybody's jumped ship to Cursor. Where does that leave VS Code?
Well, did you see they open sourced their Copilot agent? Actually, people are getting confused. They think that they've just given away Copilot for free, but it's not Copilot they're giving away for free. It's the architecture, it's the mechanism, it's the chatbot on the side to go off and send messages to a thing. But you still need to integrate. You still need to pay for Copilot. Microsoft's overuse of Copilot is just too confusing. But Copilot, the actual coding assistant that reads your code and then interprets it and all the rest of it, you still need to pay for that. But the framework that runs all that's been open sourced. So, one of the biggest aspects that of the reason why these Cursor, the Windsurfs, and plugins like Klein and Rue Code, that's the reason why they got created, because you had to build upon or you have to build an extension from VS Code. But now the fact that they've open sourced that leaves them in an interesting spot. But yeah, this is what I think. I'm going to ask you all the time, aren't I, Chris? Are you using this? Are you using that? One-click installation of MCP servers. I think this is going to be incredible. This is like the app store of MCP servers. I don't think people are quite understand how great MCP servers can be. I watched a video last week of a guy who basically created a YouTube video through MCP servers integrated with Claude, the app. Claude had it all along. I think Cursor has had it for a while, but this one-click access just makes it more accessible. But he just created a YouTube video just from a prompt. It kind of generated a script, it generated storyboards, it created images, it blended between those images using FAL, generated a voiceover, all through like natural language and describing it in a thing. So yeah, have you had much experience with MCP servers?
The closest, I suppose, is obviously the experimentation we're doing ourselves with anything. But I think the first time I was really impressed with it was the integration with GitHub in Cursor, where I had I had two apps, one that consumed a package from another, and I needed to upgrade one of the packages and get the app to consume the new package. And I didn't know how successful it was going to be, but I said, look, I've got this task to do. And he went, right, okay, I'll go and do that. Submitted a PR, merged it in for me for the new app, published the package, and then updated the new app to consume the old package, to consume the new package. And it just worked. I was like, well, that's actually, pretty damn impressive that it was even able to raise the PR and merge it in, which was great. So I was quite impressed. So it's nice when things like that do just work. But I haven't experimented with some of the more wild MCP servers, but yeah, when it just works, it's nice.
Yeah, I for the life of me can't get. I haven't done it in Cursor. I haven't tried it in Cursor yet, and obviously this one click is going to make sure it bloody works. But I've tried setting up one in Claude. I just can't get it to work. I don't know. It might be a Node.js issue, but slightly annoying. But yeah, I think the one-click access, I get people like me who don't know don't know what they're doing. I think it's going to be really, really cool. And then I think there's just going to be an explosion of loads of MCP servers. There's the App Store there, Notion, Figma, and all the likes of it. So I think this is going to be really good. Richard chat response, which is just a more interesting. I think I show graphs and tables and things like that. Always welcome. Nicer update to the settings dashboard. Cursor 1, it's become it's grown up. It's become a teenager now, which is pretty cool. And have you Gemini goes global? So Gemini Ultra, which gave access to have you seen like the VO3 stuff that has been released? It's crazy.
No, I haven't. I mean, I've been using a little bit of Gemini here and there, and I have found as well that using Gemini for certain languages, actually, like Flutter, because it's Google based, does seem to actually know its stuff a little better, which I thought was an interesting thing. But no, not particularly familiar with the VO stuff.
So, I mean, Google, it's a $250 plan, basically, that included, obviously, Gemini, the chat apps with the advanced models, but the VO3 stuff, which is just some crazy video generation videos. I'm just trying to work out whether this, I was just sending my friend some really, I'll link it somewhere, of these, my phone's probably going to blast out a bunch of audio now. These what do they call it, the Sasquatch, and I've got a feeling it's I don't know whether you can see that, but it's this Australian it's not gonna focus, is it? And it's black and white, so it's not, but this I'm not gonna make you watch that, but it's these funny videos with these Sasquatches generated, and I'm wondering if it's VO3 because it's so convincing and it looks so good. But the point is, all this was like in America only, so they've rolled it out globally, and it's $234, I think. Yeah, $234 dollars a month, which is really cool. The VO3 stuff is available on the Pro plan, but which is only $20 or something like that. But you get very limited usage. Like even on the $250 plan, you got limited usage. But VO3,
I think it's 10 uses a month, was it, or something?
On
10 videos a month
on the Ultra or the Pro.
I don't know. I saw it in this article. I think it was 10 uses a month. You get
it sounds like that's even the Ultra. You know, it's that intensive. Something really interesting, actually, that I found out about reading about this is this Synth ID watermark technology. So what this is doing, it's Google DeepMind's created this identification system to obviously Google have created this ecosystem, but they can tell whether something has been generated with AI. And they mentioned something about cropping and filtering, and I'm guessing it's just these little things here or there that happen to let you know. It's like a key, I guess, that lets you know that it's been generated. So this is big business, and I think this will be one of the most important things going forward, to know if like you're actually watching a politician do something real or whether it's a deep fake or whatever.
Well, I think that's interesting because I suppose it's a little bit like DRM technology.
Exactly.
So the digital right management stuff. The thing that struck me with that is if you were to say do a pass over a video, even if it's just like providing a LUT, I suppose, over a whole video, is that then going to watermark it and say that this is AI?
Well, I don't think it's. I think it's invisible watermarking. So I think this is the whole point: is that it's unrecognized. Like you can't. It doesn't destroy the experience.
Oh no, I know. Yeah. But what I mean is, if you say something's been, filmed with real actors, it's been recorded, it's been edited, it's had its audio done, and then as a last thing, you pass it through some sort of filter. Does at that point the watermark get embedded, and then you're now it's now tagged forever as AI?
Good point. I mean, because obviously, again, just before the call, I mentioned about the AI exists on many different layers of what we do, right? So you're suggesting that there's an AI LUT, however, the editing, the audio, the acting in of itself was not AI generated, but now it's just like, oh, okay, AI generated because you used an AI LUT. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, it's been tagged, and watermarked as AI or having AI involvement, when actually it's only that AI involvement was very minimal potentially.
Yeah, and then I guess there's a whole ecosystem around well, maybe that's just a prompt to the user to suggest, or a prompt to the system to say it's been AI generated, and it's up to the artists or the creators to actually be transparent about where it's used. Because I think Mr. Beast went through a whole ordeal where to make their videos more dramatic, they add CGI and explosions and do all that because it's a kids show and that's what happens. But people got very upset. I mean, to be fair, I think it was on one of his kind of where he helps out people and stuff like that. He was demonstrating what a school looked like in Africa before they helped rebuild it or provide water or something. Anyway, point is yeah, I think people are like, they feel cheated if an ounce of it is AI generated. But yeah, yet to be seen. I think it's I think Synth ID is very much, apparently they've watermarked over 10 billion pieces of content already with it. So I mean, I know that's small in the grand scheme of the internet, but
it's a lot. It's a fair amount.
It's a lot. And then on the subject of Gemini Ultra and stuff like that is Pro Deep Think as well. You get with Ultra, which is a hybrid model that's supposed to be just amazing at everything. It takes the deep thinking and speed and rolls them into one as well, which yeah, we've spoken about on the show before, but like that's kind of what you get. Apparently it's good for coding as well, so that's pretty cool. And also then back to web, Claude Pro again. You use Claude to code?
I do, yeah, but within Cursor. So predominantly Claude Sonnet 4.
Yeah,
at the moment.
Yeah. So I bought the Max plan last week because I wanted to use Claude Code. I wanted to give Claude Code a go. Have you used Claude Code?
I haven't actually. I did read a review comparing Cursor and Windsurf and Claude Code, and I made the decision to just stick with Cursor, to be honest.
Well, I can tell you, it's not the video that's just. It wasn't my review that I just launched because you've been on the show. It's that just went out today, because that's exactly what I did. I just compared the two. My
opinion then?
My opinion is, although it's great, unless you're like fully immersed in the ecosystem of Claude, and arguably, and again, we'll get into this now, that Gemini 2.5 Pro has been updated again, and Gemini 2.5 Pro is like, a fraction of the price of Claude, and arguably, I mean, it's top of the SWE benchmarks, I think it is as well. So it's doing really, really well. So unless you're fully immersed in the Claude ecosystem, then you might as well just stick to just experimenting with it, using the Max plan every so often. But the news here is that they've now released it on the Pro plan, which it wasn't available. You had to get this $100 plan to get access to Claude Code. So now for $17, you can get probably a reasonable amount of access. So again, what's your bill like? Are you using Max mode at all?
No, I'm not actually.
Okay.
And I think I'm worried that it will just spiral out of control very quickly, because especially
that's exactly why these plans exist.
Yeah, because you can get to the where it'll tool chain like 25 commands. Yeah. And if you accidentally turn your back on it, you think it's doing one small thing, you turn your back on it, and it's done everything and decided to do much more. That's the concern, really, I suppose, where it gets stuck in a loop and it's racking up a bill without you really being aware that it's doing that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's why this plan got released, because it's pretty much, it's not infinite, but it's good enough. It resets every 5 hours, and it's got a very, very generous limit. But the Max mode, as you say, that's using the API. You're paying for your cursor, and then you're adding the API usage of Claude on top of that. Whereas this, again, you will watch my video later on, won't you? But you close your cursor, you close your cursor chat, and then you sit within Claude Code then, and then you've pretty much got an unlimited usage of like Sonnet and Opus. But it's just nice to know they've released it on the 17.
Are you finding Claude Code as good, better? How does it compare?
Still making my mind up. Because you leave it in Opus, because Opus is a what do you call it? A hybrid model, and it's supposed to work out whether it can drop down to Sonnet level or whether it needs to up its own game and go to deep thinking mode in Opus, because Opus sort of overtook Sonnet. Opus was the one. Yeah. So it is good. I built a WordPress plugin today with it. I'm working on a free version of my chat app with it. It seems good. It feels, I don't know why, it must be a shallow ego thing, but it feels nice knowing that I've paid $100 for this one tool and I'm just coding with it in terminal. There's something I feel like a Vim user, you know. I've got the Vim snobbery.
Yeah, and the Vim snobbery is real.
yeah. What, you use your mouse? What?
Yeah.
A GUI?
Especially when you get people who use tmux.
Yeah, Jesus. So anyway, from a code perspective, though, it is. I don't know how many tokens are wasted by being like, you know what, you're right, that wasn't supposed to go there, and things like this. But it's fine. I'm gonna go straight into. I've got a month of this now. I might as well use it. I'm gonna go straight into Gemini Pro 2.5 Pro once this does, because for the fraction of the price. You know, even in, I don't know whether, I haven't got cursor up. I don't know whether max mode is available in Gemini Pro, but the point is, like, I think arguably Gemini Pro is just so much more value for money, you know. But all that being said, you can try it out because if you went onto max mode, I've heard of people in max mode in Cursor, not to be confused with max plan here, but max mode in Cursor running up $200-300 bills on top of their Cursor plan, you know, just using the max mode of Gemini. They're happy to do it because effectively they're employing 2 or 3 junior devs to, you know, slog away at the code or whatever it is. So I do think it's worth it. But yeah, so that was all introduced because of that.
The other thing is, at the moment, if you're using Claude for Sonnet within Cursor, the requests are at 0.5 times, so there is actually a discount at the moment.
Okay, but is that so? The pricing is so confusing. Is that in max mode though? Is that not max?
That's not in max mode, so you can up it to max mode.
So do you get a bill then on top of your Cursor? Because I've never got a bill on top of my Cursor bill.
I can have a little look.
Or
we'll find out now. You're going to get live shock now as I go. How much? There you go.
Or is it a theoretical price cap to know whether you've capped out your $20? Because presumably you pay for Cursor, right?
Yes, I do. So I'm on the Pro plan, and then there is a sort of premium. It used to be premium or Pro level that you could add for like premium requests. That was it, premium requests. So let's see where we're at here. There we go. So
you can share your screen if you're confident enough, but
probably not. So there's a $60 max spending limit that I've set. So it's halfway through a month now, and we're $3 in. And that's with
so you are paying on top.
Yeah, we are paying on top, but that's with a team of 3 at the moment, and it's only one of us that spent that $3.16, which is interesting. It's not me.
There you go. Okay. I thought it was going to be you. I was like, who's not picking up the slack?
No, it's not me. It's not me. But yeah, I think that's literally on which model you're choosing. And so I think, much like we were having the conversation before, I would rather just have a model that's not going to make mistakes. And not invent things and not hallucinate. And then I would rather sort of code with it, if that makes sense. I like to treat it a little bit like a junior developer, to be honest, of getting it to do the hard work, the hard sort of legwork for me. But I will give the architectural design, because I haven't really used the max modes to full extent, but I just don't necessarily think they've got the architecture or the creativity required yet.
Yeah. So I'm going to be producing a video, which, the long and short of it is, I think that the max mode, Opus, these expensive modes, these deep thinking modes, I think this is where you start your big feature. This is where you plan out your big feature and say, I want to do this. And you give it a product requirements document to plan that feature out. And you might start to shape that a little bit with that max mode, and then you drop down to something like Sonnet or something lighter to start then chipping away at that feature. So you just start shrinking down your scope, starting out with the big version sort of thing. But Yeah, I think that's an ideal situation, and I think you've got to build trust. It's got to build trust, right, to actually get the job done and whatever. But maybe not on a live app, maybe on like a hobby project or something. How long have we got you for today, Chris? Are you shooting off in 5?
Yeah, I can. I think we can wrap it up in a bit if you want.
We got what? We got Perplexity, we've got Sakana, and we've got ElevenLabs 3 to go. So yeah, 3 more to waffle on.
Well, I'm kind of interested in the ElevenLabs one.
Yeah,
for sure.
Cool. All right, let's do ElevenLabs now, and I can keep going with if you have to shoot off. There you go. Compromise. You've got to have good compromise in a relationship. This is the thing. So, have you seen this?
I have.
Do you want to chat about it?
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting, right? So it's definitely much more expressive. It's kind of cool that it can do more accents and voices and expressions and all of that sort of stuff. And actually, there's one project that I work with that uses a lot of audio content, which largely uses a lot of ElevenLabs stuff. And I must admit, I didn't actually notice that they were doing that.
So, because I looked. Oh, what? You thought it was an actual person speaking?
I hadn't paid a huge amount of attention to what was actually being said, but it hadn't twigged with me that it was AI until I was told that it was AI.
Wow.
Which I think is quite good. But yeah, I don't know. The other thing from listening to the, I've gone through their little video clip as well of what's in V3.
Yeah.
There is a certain element of it. It's very impressive how expressive it is, but it is almost a little soulless. So,
yeah,
you can kind of tell to a degree, because I'm not saying you can't, because clearly I've been fooled by it before, right? So,
fool me once, fool me twice.
Yeah, exactly. You can go on forever, can't you? Fool me 3 times. There is something about it where it's very convincing, but it does seem to lack a little bit of soul. And actually, I was talking to someone about this sort of thing earlier. It feels almost a little bit like, when drum loops started to exist, and now, you do that by sampling each of the drums and then you stitch them together. And now there's pretty much every, audio tool that you go into, you can do your own beats, and you can create something that sounds or approximates a drum kit. And obviously there's certain things where it can pre-program that for you and it will sound like a drum kit, but it's not going to sound like a drummer, and I think that's the difference. Like, it's very, very convincing, and it will satisfy an awful lot of people and convince a hell of a lot of people that it's a real thing and it's, real music, to go back to the other thing. But there's something different in comparison to a live recording. It's always going to be an approximation to a human, I think. So very, very good. Sounds great. Great for some brilliant purposes, but
thumbs up to the ElevenLabs crew, but you lack soul.
It just feels like there's something missing, right? To me, but it's very, very good. It's very impressive.
I'm guessing this is like the prompt, the AI thing. I mean, like, I was actually in shock, in awe. Like, some of these, like, which one might it be? I don't know. It just sort of takes into account the whole entire context. And so when laughing, I'm just making this up right now. Okay, here's one here. In the context of this one, like, let's say laughing is followed by hysterical laughing. Laughing in this context might mean that it's more aggressive than laughing without hysterical laughing. Again, I don't know. I'm just guessing. So it just felt like there was... you could put laughing in different areas and it would respond differently based on its context. So I was pleasantly surprised. Saying all that, you were probably hyper-focused on the fact that you were just reading text on a screen and watching the words and listening to the audio. Whereas realistically, and again, going back to this idea of this guy who used tool calls or MCP servers to create a a YouTube video, he used ElevenLabs, and it was in the context of a video, like things happening on the screen, you know, a conversation or something like that. So maybe you were extra sensitive because they were so brazen enough to just present you with the audio and a simple bit of text. But it's definitely got my cogs turning on what I can use it for.
It's possible. I mean, the other thing that's interesting about it is that, you know, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and, you know, there's no substitute for a really great narrator. You know, it's always going to be compelling if there's a great narrator. However, recently, the current book I'm listening to, you never know what's the right way to say that. The current book that I'm listening to.
I'm reading a book. Oh yeah, what one? Oh, it's an audio book.
Well, it's not. I'm not reading. Yeah. But anyway, the current one that I'm listening to is a great book, and I'm actually really enjoying the book. It's a Winston Churchill book. However, the narrator is awful, and I didn't realize, because as I was. It's important to know that it's a Winston Churchill book, because as you read you go through the Audible preview, and you go, yeah, this is fine, because the guy's reading the preface and the introduction to the book, and then you get into the actual book once you've purchased it and find out that the guy actually does most of the book with a very bad Winston Churchill impression, which is very disappointing to read. Now, if I could have rerun that and gone, actually take out the Winston Churchill impression, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So, you know, in that instance, I wouldn't mind that being soulless. It's not going to be, you know, it's not going to be a substitute to, I don't know, listening to something that's read by Stephen Fry or Tim Curry or someone, you know, a really expressive actor or actress that's going to do a great job. But it would be nice if you are subjected to someone's poor quality impression to be able to go, do you know what? Stop that, silly.
Yeah, please just stop. Yeah. And we had a brief conversation about this a few weeks ago. I think creativity in this respect, I think you've got to be a creative. Like, AI is there. You can't just eliminate AI just because you're doing something creative or whatever. I think you need to understand where its strengths and weaknesses lie. And you just have to have a bit of a moral compass when it comes to how you use the AI sort of thing. Like, you know, if you're a massive like movie, like Fox or some massive like company, and you're choosing to use AI just because it's quicker and cheaper, I think that is a poor use of creativity and a poor use of AI. Whereas someone like you or I, you know, just trying to make things work, trying to grow their company. I think these platforms just inspire me so much, but you need to know where that line should be drawn when it comes to, okay, am I taking the piss now? Should I actually just go out and hire Stephen Fry, or, you know, rather than using his AI generated voice or things like that, you know? So it's a tricky one, and everyone's going to have a different answer to it because everyone's moral compasses lie in different areas. Everyone's understanding and appreciation for creativity lies in different areas. But it's an interesting dilemma that you've had, because it's like it's actually nothing to do with, you're not taking away anyone's you know, creative output. Maybe they wanted that to sound like a crap version of Winston Churchill, but
I'm sure they wanted it to sound like a very good version of Winston Churchill. Unfortunately,
didn't have the budget. Yeah, but yeah, ElevenLabs, it looks cool. I'm buzzing with ideas to think about it, because again, solo entrepreneur, whatever you call it, solopreneur, someone I would love to do some little adverts and things like that, which can allow me to add value in other areas of my life and things like that. So I've described it before, I'm like a kid in a candy shop when it comes to all these AI tools.
But I think that's what you should use it for. It's a creative thing, and you know, it's a creative shortcut, I suppose. And if you can use it as a tool for your own creativity, then I think that's great. But I don't think it is a substitute for creativity, you know. And I think that's right. You know, it is that same concept. I do want AI to do the manual labor for me so that I can be creative. I don't want it to do the creative stuff for me.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I totally agree. And the ElevenLabs is an alpha, so I don't even think you can access it even through the API stuff yet. But I was pleasantly surprised at the pricing. I was pleasantly surprised they are blatantly trying to get devs on board now, because they got you. In fact, this seems to have changed, but when I checked it before the call, this had a lot of emphasis. Oh, I guess it's the API access. I think they really want devs to use it, given that this is, you know, free API. I mean, I guess it scales upwards from this point onwards, but like, yeah, once V3 is out, I'd like to play around the API for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the next step for me, is that, you know, I've seen little clips of people using, you know, chat with voice. I've not had a chance to do that yet, but I think that does feel like it'll be the next step of actually having something read back to you, and be able to have a conversation with it. You know, I've been doing a lot of driving recently, and if I could have had a tool in my car connected to my Apple CarPlay that would allow me to have a conversation with it and get it to write a document or take down ideas or take down notes, that would be such a great tool. I'd be able to make so much more use of the time that I've got driving, you know, which is a necessity. That would be fantastic to have something like that. So I can understand why that might have an API integration, because it might be, you know, maybe we're going to be translating stuff on the fly using ElevenLabs as a voice for responses that we're getting from other tools.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's the tooling that's a limitation, because I don't always, that's an exaggeration, but I use Gemini voice. If I've got a shortcut, if I say ask, I think it's ask Perplexity actually, but the voice mode on that, Gemini is particularly good just to having a conversation with it. It's great for just getting facts and discussing things. I remember diagnosing this monitor that I got in front of me because it wasn't working, whatever. And I was intertwining our debugging session with general chats, like normal chats. And it was able to just keep interweaving what we were talking about. And I said, okay, so I've restarted my computer now. What should I do now? Or does LG have a not a returns policy, but like a whatever you call it, to get your money back, all that kind of stuff. But just having these vocal conversations. But imagine, oh, can you send an email to blah blah blah, or can you add a thing to my calendar, or do this? I think that will be really cool. And again, if you're driving, you're just, you know, cruising with one hand, because I know how you do it. Yeah, just this natural, just understand it. And am I clumsy? We're all clumsy, like when we speak as well. We just sort of don't say sentences when we're not thinking. We don't say sentences as clear, and it's great that AI can just interpret that and make it work for us. But yeah, are you going to shoot now?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
all
it.
Right.
But it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Go on to anything.uk. I'm sticking around just for the last few little bits, by the way, so we're not wrapping up just yet. But yeah, go to anything.
Just to make sure that I leave, just to make sure that I'm a good leaver and it doesn't mess up your recording. Do I just click the leave studio button here?
Do you know what? I don't know, but I can remove you and just.
Oh, all right then. Remove me then. Let's do that. I just want to make sure that I leave my recording behind.
Yeah, I know, because it's got to upload, isn't it? We normally shut down the stream and then both of us upload. So I'm going to remove you. You got to say goodbye, and I'll remove you, and then that should be good then.
Well, thanks, folks, to whoever's been here listening, and yeah, check out anything.uk and let me know what you think.
Cool. Good to see you again.
Yeah, see you soon. Cheers.
Ciao, ciao. Cool. Yeah. So I'm super stoked for ElevenLabs. Look at me all on my own. This is sad and lonely, isn't it? But let's jump into. I love Perplexity. It was massive a little while ago, and I didn't understand what people were on about when they spoke about Perplexity this, replacing search and all the rest of it. Now I'm a pro user, and I really like Perplexity, and plus it gives me, you know, what is it called, like Grok, Sonnet, OpenAI. All of the main kind of models it gives me access to. But what they released this week was Perplexity Labs. And I've got a video coming out soon, which I am pretty excited about, where I compare a few agents. Now, I think agents are going to be incredible, certainly for people like me running a company, but certainly I recommend you getting involved in is, you know, my quick analogy of agents is if one person could do one task, that is ChatGPT. You've got one person right in front of you doing the one thing, right? You're copywriting whatever. Agents, you've got a team of people doing many different things all at once, and you can set them off on a big task to go do their respective things, go create some pictures, go record some voiceovers, go call someone, do this and bring them all together. Perplexity just added labs to their plan. Oh, you can even, I'm in Perplexity right now, right? So if I just do this, I can set it off, click this little button here, and this is a labs feature, and it will go off, take 10 minutes, and it will just do everything for me, and it's really, really good. And I've set this to like redefine my business. I've set up marketing plans and doing things like that. Really, really cool feature that they've added as part of their $19 a month, I think this is. So Perplexity is a great alternative to things like Manus. It's GenSpark, which is the two videos or the two agents that I pit them up against. I'd love to know if you have any other agents, because I just want to use them and see what one does best. I don't want to ruin the surprise of my video, but the point is Perplexity have introduced labs, so I'm pretty excited about that. This one, real quick, is just bong. I just want to. It's not web focused. I just want to keep tabs on this idea, which I've basically described as the singularity. It was started with absolute zero, which is a self-learning model, or maybe you wouldn't call it a model, but it's a self-learning mechanism for an AI to start with zero data, absolute zero, and it learns and sets a self-tests and judges whether it's and it evolves through that. And then like a week later after that paper was released, Google announced Alpha Evolve, which is I guess a practical implementation of that self-learning mechanism. But now we've got Sakana.ai, and I'm not a massive fan of quite a childish-looking website, but it's still pretty cool that they've then taken an extra level, and they are writing its own foundational model here. This is kind of what this diagram is explaining, and why this is important is Google Evolve and the absolute zero, it's sort of like adding layers of its own intelligence on top of itself, and it's still achieving roughly the same thing, but this one is updating its foundational model. And that is, I mean, again, this for me is the last remaining like achievement of AI. And I feel like we're just kind of done. I don't know whether I'm talking crazy talk there, but I feel like we're just kind of done with AI now, and it's just about getting better. But you stick this in a robot, god damn it, that's scary talk. But this is great, and it's called the Darwin Gödel machine, and I don't know why, but I'm semi freaked out by that name. I'll be honest with you, semi freaked out by that name. Join the chat if you are here, because I'm on my own now, so you can feel free to ask any questions, and I can be more than happy to answer them for you. But amazing. And the where was it about the what's it called, the benchmarks were just really good benchmarks. I think I got it noted down here. 20% to 50% coding tasks, like improvements in 80 iterations. So it's a real, like, here we go, there you can see it there. It's a real innovation in terms of like it's actually like tangible differences, or it's making a notable difference in itself. Basically, it's not just writing or learning for the sake of it, it's improving itself, like self-improving. So this is insane. So that's it. That's the week's Command AI. I've really enjoyed this week. Let me know. I always want feedback. Kabaza hasn't been here. If you've just joined us, Kabaza isn't here because he had some other stuff to attend to, but he will be back next week. Chris joined us. We were hopefully all three of us were going to be here, but we are going to be looking for guests. We are going to be looking to bring people on to kind of share in the news and share their perspectives and things like that. So you got to let me know. You got to let me know if you want to be a part of it. Shout out as well to my I really fucking hate AI.com. I should put that in the banner. I really fucking hate AI.com, which I'm just determined to. I just really want to understand why people dislike AI. It sounds like a meme, but I think this is really good for my own personal development and just for me to share with you guys, like, why there is such resistance. Because I feel like we are in this bubble, and I'm fully in on AI, where there are people out there who don't like AI, and I want to know if I'm missing something, and I want to know if I can communicate or how I can communicate with these people. So yeah, go to ireallyfuckinghateai.com. If you hate AI, or you just want to leave me a message, I don't mind if you want to leave me a message on there. I'm not tracking your data. I'm not doing anything. I'm literally just recording your message, and that is it. Like maybe I can even go into the analytics here. I've forgotten my password. It's whatever, but literally just recording your message. Anyway, all that to be said, thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for tuning into Command.ai. Join us here we try and do it every single Friday at 4 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. Central European time. Try and do it live. There'll of course be a roundup going out on the weekend, and there'll be shorts and all the rest of it. But if you do want to join the chat, you do want to join the banter, then feel free to come join us live. Next week we should be back on schedule, and of course, find me on Twitter, it's 0x5m5. Let me know of any really interesting AI news that I can either make videos on or cover it in the week's Command AI. Cool. Thanks, guys. Peace out. Keep on vibing.